Hello everybody! Today we're going to be learning about the muscular system. So here we go. You need your note sheet out. We're going to start off with the main functions of the muscular system. Main functions are, or main function, it's really one function, it's to provide movement for your whole body. In your muscles, the ones that are providing movement, the ones that you think of at first are really a type of muscle called the skeletal muscle. But it's providing all kinds of movement, like it's moving your blood through your circulatory system, it's moving food through your digestive system, so it's providing a lot of different kinds of movement. But the skeletal muscles that you think of most frequently are working together in pairs. Pairs. Ooh, boy, that was kind of written funny. My smartboard's a bit off here. But basically, when one muscle of a pair contracts, the other one returns to its original length. So if you take a look at this, I'm going to try to move it without drawing. I don't know if I can do that. Nope. But if you take a look at this picture, we've got, this is your bicep muscle. So when you make a fist and you flex, that one is contracting. It's getting shorter. Its muscle pair is in the back of your arm. That's your tricep. And your tricep, when your bicep is flexed, your tricep is relaxed or kind of not necessarily stretched, but just relaxed at its original normal length. Now, let's say that you had to, let's take a look here. This one, this arm on this side. Oh, now it moves. All right, so this arm over on that one, the one to the right here. There we go. This one's straightened out. So let's say that you had like a handle here and you were pulling a really long rope and you had to pull it down. That would mean your tricep in the back would have to flex and your bicep in the front would have to relax or return to its original length. I apologize that my markers are all off here, guys. So they work in pairs. They're providing movement and they're working together in pairs. Wow, look at the mess I made. All right, here we go. Let's see if I can get to the next slide. Now, you have three different types of muscle. You have smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and skeletal muscle. We have talked about the first two before when we were talking about the cardiovascular system. Remember, all of your blood vessels are smooth muscle. So your arteries, veins, capillaries, those are actually made of muscle tissue. It's a very different kind of muscle tissue than you're probably thinking of, but it is muscle tissue. It's smooth muscle. If you look down here at the bottom, there's this nice little diagram, and it shows you where you can find the three types of muscle tissue and what the actual cells look like. The cells themselves are very different. So smooth muscle, not only in your blood vessels, but also your digestive tract. So your stomach is made out of muscle tissue. Your intestines are made out of muscle tissue. It's just a different kind of muscle tissue. But it has to be muscle because it has to provide movement for things to go through it. That's important. The second kind, we've talked about this one too, that's your cardiac muscle. Remember, your heart is made of cardiac muscle. It is the only place in your body where you're going to find cardiac muscle. And your heart has to be able to move to push the blood through your circulatory system. And it's a very specialized type of muscle tissue, cardiac muscle. Then the one type of muscle that you probably think of when you think of muscles is your skeletal muscle. These types of muscles are attached to bone, either through tendons or ligaments, and those muscles move your skeleton around so that your body can move around. And when you think of muscles, this is probably the type of muscle that you're thinking of. They also help protect your organs. So if you think of your sternum, your breastbone, and your ribs, that's protecting your chest, major internal organs, your heart. So they provide protection as well. But most of these are going to be working in pairs, like we talked about on the slide before, to control your movements and allow you to move around the world in a smooth and controlled way. So one muscle contracts while the other expands or relaxes. Not necessarily stretch, because you got to kind of way stretch them to get them to go beyond relaxed, but just relaxing and contracting to move you around. And you can practice that. You can flex your arm, you can flex your leg, and see what happens. All right, struggling here to make the slides go the right way. There we go. Okay, so the first two types we talked about, the smooth muscle tissue and the cardiac muscle tissue, those two types of muscles are controlled by your brain, but it's not your conscious mind. So you don't have to think about digesting your food, and you don't have to think about moving your blood through your cardiovascular system. It's called involuntary. Involuntary, the second one down here. It is controlled by your brain. It is your brain. Your brain's in charge, but it's a part of your brain that's very deep inside of your brain, and it's subconscious, so you don't have to think about it. Your heart will beat, your lungs will breathe without you having to think about it. Your skeletal muscles are made of voluntary muscle tissue, which means you control it with your thoughts and you get to decide what they do. You don't necessarily have to really think too hard about it, but you are going to decide when you stand up, when you sit down, when you run, when you walk. That's totally your decision. Those are voluntary muscles. So your skeletal muscle, things like biceps, triceps, quadriceps, that's going to be voluntary. Now, did you know, fun fact, horses can sleep standing up. They can actually lock their bones, their joints in their legs together so that their weight is not being supported by their muscles, but it's actually their bones. So when you stand up, you're using your muscles. Your bones and your muscles are working together. You can't necessarily lock your legs into place without your muscles working a little bit, but horses can. They can lock their legs and they're actually standing on their bones instead of using their muscles. And so they can sleep, they can take a nap standing up and relax all their muscles without falling down. All right, I have a question for you. I want you to think about how would your muscular system and your skeletal system have to work together for you to move? Because you cannot move without both of them. You can't just have muscles and you can't just have your skeleton, your bones. They have to be together and working together for you to move. Now, we haven't talked about the skeletal system yet, so you're going to have to kind of think about how might your skeleton be involved and how does this work? How do they work together? I want you to process that, reflect on that, maybe move around, think about how things are attached inside of you. And then after you are done with this activity, what you're going to do is you're going to finish your notes sheet, your muscular system note sheet. There are instructions there for you. You're going to use your book to finish the muscular system, and you can also use the Chromebook for resources. When you finish your note sheet and you feel content that it is going to help you do well on that quiz tomorrow, then your next thing you're going to do is you're going to go on to the classroom links section of my website, and you're going to use the games. There's Poke-a-Muscle and Match-a-Muscle, and they're actually really fun. You're going to practice identifying different muscles. That's only after you finish your note sheet, though. So right now, before we do that, I want you to turn and talk and tell your neighbor or the people at your table what you thought about how did the muscular system and skeletal system work together, and try to explain it or talk through it as a group, and then you're good to go. Thanks, guys.